The number keeps climbing, and with it, the fear. Oregon is now battling 34 large fires burning at the same time, and the total area affected has swelled past 675,000 acres. Just days ago, the count was lower. Now it has grown again, and every update seems to add more fires to the map and more acres to the total. This is a statewide emergency that is not just severe, it is still expanding, and the rising tally of large fires tells the story of a crisis that firefighters have not yet been able to get ahead of. 34 large fires is a staggering number for a single state to face at once. Each one is its own separate emergency, its own column of smoke, its own front demanding crews, aircraft, and equipment. When you have that many burning simultaneously, the entire firefighting system is stretched to a breaking point, forced into brutal choices about where to send help when everywhere seems to need it, and with more than 675,000 acres already affected, and the fires still active. The scale of what Oregon is enduring right now is difficult to fully comprehend. In this video, we are going to break down what is happening across Oregon as the fire count climbs, the largest and most dangerous blazes driving the total, the communities under threat, the thousands forced from their homes, and the exhausted crews battling on every front. We will explain why so many fires are burning at once, and what the days ahead may hold. And most importantly, we will talk about what people in the fire zones need to know to stay safe. This is a fast-moving and still growing emergency, so stay with us, because understanding what is unfolding across Oregon right now matters. Whether you live in the path of these flames or simply want to grasp the true scale of what this state is facing. Hashtag 34 fires at once to understand the weight of this moment. You have to grasp what it means to have 34 large fires burning across a single state at the same time. This is not one disaster that everyone can focus on and surround. It is 34 separate emergencies, scattered across an enormous geographic range, each one requiring its own share of the crews, engines, aircraft, and command structure that firefighting demands. And the resources to fight them are finite. There are only so many hand crews, only so many air tankers, only so many bulldozers and incident teams to go around. When the number of fires climbs to 34, the math becomes impossible. The firefighting system simply cannot be everywhere it is needed. Fires that might normally be attacked aggressively in their first critical hours, the window when a blaze is easiest to stop, instead have to be left to grow, because the crews are committed elsewhere. Agencies are forced into triage, concentrating their limited resources on the fires that most directly threaten lives and homes, while accepting that other fires will continue to spread across the wildland. This is how the affected acreage climbs past 675,000 and keeps rising, because with this many fires burning at once. The flames are outpacing the human effort to contain them, and the fact that the count has grown from a lower number just days ago to 34 now is the most telling detail of all. It means the crisis is not stabilizing. New fires are being added faster than existing ones are being extinguished, and the total keeps expanding. Until the conditions change, that dangerous trajectory is likely to continue, with the fire count and the acreage both climbing higher, and the strain on Oregon's firefighting forces growing heavier by the day. Hashtag, the largest fires driving the total the heaviest concentration of this emergency has fallen on Central Oregon, the high country and canyon lands east of the Cascade Mountains, where a landscape of juniper, sagebrush, dry grass, and scattered timber has become a tinderbox. Here, several of the largest and most dangerous fires are burning, feeding on parched vegetation and driven by wind and heat into fast-moving walls of flame. But the crisis has not stayed in one place. Fires are burning in the forests near the great volcanic peaks of the Cascades. Across the eastern rangelands, and in scattered pockets throughout the state, each a separate front, adding to the growing total. Among the giants of this emergency is a sprawling complex of fires that has grown across a vast stretch of central and north-central Oregon, charring an area so large it would be a major disaster in almost any ordinary year. A complex, in firefighting terms, is a group of fires managed together under a single command because they burn in the same area. And this one grew from multiple ignitions that spread and merged across the dry landscape into a single interconnected monster. The terrain makes it brutally hard to fight, a country of steep canyons, rolling hills, and remote rangeland, where roads are few and much of the battle has to be waged from the air, with tankers and helicopters dropping water and retardant, while ground crews carve fire breaks and punishing heat and thick smoke. Elsewhere, fast-moving fires have torn toward populated areas with frightening speed. In the region around Warm Springs and Madras, a rapidly intensifying blaze forced some of the most urgent evacuations of the entire emergency, striking hard at communities, including the lands of the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs, where the threat is not just to vegetation, but to homes, history, and the fabric of a community's life. This fire changed direction and intensity with alarming speed and has already taken homes. A devastating reminder of how quickly a distant column of smoke can become an immediate, life-threatening emergency. Fires burning in the forested high country near Mount Hood have forced their own evacuations, as flames climbed through timbered slopes, and another Central Oregon blaze grew toward the scale that firefighters call a megafire. The truly enormous events that consume 100,000 acres or more. Add all 34 large fires together, along with the many smaller ones, and you arrive at that staggering figure of more than 675,000 acres affected. Hashtag, why so many fires are burning it, is natural to ask how a state ends up with 34 large fires at once. And the answer lies in a combination of conditions that have come together with particular force. The first and most immediate factor is the weather. Wildfires thrive on heat, dryness, and wind, and this stretch of summer has delivered all three across Oregon in punishing abundance. Prolonged heat has baked the landscape, driving the moisture out of the vegetation and turning grass, brush, and timber into ready fuel. Low humidity leaves little moisture in the air to slow a fire down, and wind is the great accelerant, pushing flames across the land, carrying embers ahead to start new spot fires, and turning a manageable blaze into a raging front in a matter of hours. The second factor is the landscape itself. Much of Oregon, especially the drier country east of the Cascades, is naturally prone to fire, and years of drought and dryness have left the vegetation especially parched and primed to burn. The fuels are cured and abundant, loaded with the raw material for disaster and waiting only for ignition. When that ignition arrives, often from the dry lightning storms that can hurl hundreds of strikes into the landscape while delivering little rain, many of the strikes catch. A single afternoon of lightning can see dozens of new fires across a wide area, which is exactly how a state ends up with a fire count as high as 34 burning at the same time. Behind these immediate factors looms the larger, long-term trend scientists have documented across the West. The way a warming climate has been lengthening and intensifying fire seasons, drying out landscapes, and creating conditions favorable to larger and more frequent fires. A season with this many simultaneous large fires is a local emergency. But it is also a chapter in a much larger story, unfolding across the entire region, one that has made these extreme, multi-fire events increasingly familiar. This year, that pattern has landed on Oregon with exceptional force. Hashtag, the people in the path behind every acre and every fire are people, and it is their stories that give this emergency its true weight. Across Oregon, thousands of residents have been placed under evacuation orders, uprooted from their homes and thrust into frightening uncertainty. Oregon's evacuation system uses 3 levels that have become grimly familiar to those who live in fire country. Level 1 means be ready, aware that danger exists, and preparing to leave. Level 2 means be set, packed and prepared to go at a moment's notice. And Level 3, the most severe, means go now, leave immediately, do not wait. Your life is in danger and every second counts. As the fire count has grown, all 3 levels have rippled across the state, and the most severe go-now orders have sent families racing out of their homes with whatever they could grab in the final moments. Imagine that reality. You look out your window and see the sky glowing orange, the smoke thickening, ash beginning to fall. The alert comes through telling you to leave immediately. You have minutes to gather your children, your pets, and your most irreplaceable belongings, and to get out while the roads are still open. You drive away not knowing if you will ever see your home again, joining a line of frightened neighbors fleeing the same advancing threat. For some, the worst has already come to pass. Homes have been lost in this emergency, families returning to find nothing but ash and rubble where their lives once stood. The loss of a home is not just the loss of a building. It is the loss of a lifetime of memories, of photographs and heirlooms, and the small, irreplaceable things that made a house a home. And for the many thousands still under evacuation orders, living in shelters, hotels, or with friends and family, there is the agony of waiting, of watching the maps and praying the flames turn away. Evacuation is not simple either, especially in rural areas where distances are great and roads are few. For the elderly, for people with disabilities, for those without reliable transportation, for families with livestock, the challenge of getting out safely can be immense. And with this many fast-moving fires, the margin for error is razor thin. Hashtag the exhausted frontline standing between these fires and the towns in their path is a force of firefighters whose endurance almost defies belief. These are the men and women working brutal shifts in punishing heat, breathing smoke, hiking into rugged country with heavy gear, and putting themselves directly in harm's way to protect people they have never met. When a state faces 34 large fires at once, the demand on these crews becomes almost inhuman, and the toll it takes on them, physically and emotionally, is enormous. Firefighting on this scale is a massive coordinated operation, involving hand crews cutting fire breaks, engine crews defending homes, helicopters and air tankers attacking from above, bulldozers carving lines, and a vast support network sustaining it all. But with 34 fires burning, even this formidable force gets stretched past its limits. Crews are pulled from one fire to another as priorities shift. Resources requested from other states and regions take time to arrive. Firefighters who have already worked long, exhausting assignments are asked to keep going as the count keeps climbing. And always there is the danger, because wildland firefighting is genuinely perilous work, and every crew member on those lines is accepting real risk to protect others. They are the human wall holding back the flames, and in an emergency of this magnitude, they are being tested as rarely before. Hashtag the smoke that travels. One of the most far-reaching consequences of a fire emergency on this scale spreads well beyond the flames, affecting people hundreds of miles from the nearest fire line. That consequence is smoke. When 34 large fires are burning across more than 675,000 acres, they produce an immense volume of it, and that smoke does not stay put. It rises, spreads, and drifts on the wind across vast distances, degrading air quality over enormous areas and affecting the health of countless people who never see a flame. Wildfire smoke is genuinely hazardous. It is filled with tiny particles that can penetrate deep into the lungs and even enter the bloodstream. And breathing it can cause everything from irritated eyes and throats and coughing to far more serious effects, especially for vulnerable groups. Children, the elderly, pregnant women, and people with heart or lung conditions such as asthma are particularly at risk, and for them a heavy smoke event can be dangerous or even life-threatening. When air quality plunges into the unhealthy or hazardous range, the guidance is to stay indoors, keep windows closed, use air filtration if possible, and avoid strenuous outdoor activity. The smoke from Oregon's many fires has turned skies orange and gray across the region, reduced visibility, and blanketed communities in a choking haze. A constant visible reminder written across the sky of just how much is burning. Hashtag what residents need to know for anyone living in or near the fire zones. Knowing what to do is essential, and it can be the difference between safety and tragedy. The single most important principle is to stay informed and be ready to act quickly. Because these fires move fast, the count is still climbing. And conditions can change in an instant. Pay close attention to official evacuation information and take it seriously. If you reach the be ready level, start preparing in earnest, gathering important documents, medications, and irreplaceable belongings, planning your route out, and arranging for pets and animals. If you reach be set, be genuinely ready to leave at a moment's notice, with your vehicle packed and pointed toward the exit. And if you are ever told to go now, do exactly that, immediately, without hesitation, and without stopping for more things. No possession is worth your life, and the people who get hurt in wildfires are too often those who waited too long or went back for one more thing. Prepare before any order arrives. Have an emergency kit ready with water, medications, important documents, a change of clothes, and supplies for children and pets. Know multiple routes out of your area in case the primary road is blocked. Keep your vehicle fueled during fire season. Sign up for local emergency alerts so warnings reach you quickly. And talk with your family about a plan, so that if you are separated when an emergency strikes, everyone knows where to go. For those with livestock, plan early, because moving animals takes time you may not have once a fire is close. Protect yourself from the smoke as well, staying indoors when air quality is poor, sealing your home against the outside air, and taking special care of the very young, the very old, and those with health conditions. And look out for your neighbors, especially those who may need help evacuating, because in an emergency like this, communities survive by taking care of one another. Hashtag the days ahead as this emergency continues. The crucial question is what comes next. And the honest answer is that much depends on the weather. Fire seasons live and die by conditions, and the difference between a fire count that keeps climbing and one that firefighters can finally bring down often comes down to a shift in temperature, humidity, and wind. A break in the heat, a rise in moisture, a calming of the winds, or best of all, a soaking rain can give crews the opening they need to gain ground and start containing the many fires. But continued heat, wind, and dry lightning can drive further growth and add even more fires to the total, which is the very real danger with a landscape this primed to burn. Firefighters and emergency managers will keep working around the clock, prioritizing the protection of lives and homes, calling in resources from wherever they can be found, and adapting their strategy as the fires and the weather evolve. Some of the 34 fires burning now will eventually be contained. Others may continue to grow. New fires may emerge. And through it all, the communities of Oregon will continue the hard work of enduring, of evacuating and sheltering and supporting one another, and eventually of returning and rebuilding when the flames finally pass. It is worth remembering, even now, that Oregon and the broader West have faced fire before and have always found the strength to recover. Landscapes regrow, communities rebuild, people help one another through the worst of it and emerge on the other side. For now, though, the count keeps climbing. 34 large fires burning at once, more than 675,000 acres affected, thousands of people displaced, homes lost, and a firefighting force pushed to its limits. This is one of the most serious wildfire situations Oregon has faced, a still growing siege of flame and smoke that has transformed the landscape and upended countless lives. Our thoughts are with everyone affected, with the families who have lost so much, with those still waiting to learn the fate of their homes, and with the brave crews on the front line. If you are in the fire zone, stay alert, stay ready, and stay safe. Listen to the officials, heed the orders, and do not take chances with these fast-moving flames. And to everyone watching, keep the people of Oregon in your thoughts as they face down this fierce and still growing emergency. And hold on to the hope that cooler days and calmer winds will soon bring this weary state the relief it so desperately needs.